Hello, and welcome to Up Close with yours truly, Colin Thompson. Featured in this edition, recorded here on location at the Rally Sport Health and Fitness Club in Boulder, Colorado, is professional triathlete Flora Duffy, who is presently enjoying an upswing in her career, competing in off-road events around the world. I hope you enjoy the show. 2014 has been a phenomenal year for Flora Duffy, Bermuda's undisputed queen of triathlon. The professional athlete has come on in leaps and bounds in her chosen sport this year, firmly establishing herself as a dominant force in off-road triathlons, where she is second to none the world over. During production of this program, Duffy realized a childhood dream after storming to victory at the Xterra World Championships in Hawaii. The remarkable feat earned her the distinction of being Bermuda's first world champion in the sport of triathlon. After blitzing a formidable field, an elated Duffy had this to say.
Wow, it was hard out there. You know, I knew it was going to be a tough day if I wanted to cross this line first. You know, the competition is so strong here, and the course is so hard that you really just have to have a perfect day. The swim was super choppy, but luckily that suits my choppy swim stroke. I just found some good feet, had clear water the whole way, felt super strong in the water. Exited just where I wanted to, got on the bike and just started pedaling. I've dreamed of being a world champion since I was 8 years old, so to make that dream a reality today, it's pretty special. Particularly coming from Bermuda, I think I'm the first world champion, hence why I grabbed the flag and just had so much, I guess, Bermudian pride, you know. It means a lot to me to do this from Bermuda. We're a small little country and I love to represent them and put them on the map. Yeah, so it's a huge day for me.
Prior to her coronation as world champion in Hawaii, Duffy gave ominous signs of bigger and better things to come after producing a string of emphatic victories that swept the 27-year-old athlete to the National Xterra Pro Series title in the United States at the first attempt. It was a truly remarkable feat that surpassed Duffy's expectations.
The 2014 season has been very unexpected. I mean, it's a lot of unexpected success. It's my first season, I would say, as a full-time athlete. I finished up studies last year in May 2013, and then was able to train throughout the winter full-time and rest and recover. And now this year I've been able to race as many races as I've wanted to, wherever I've wanted to, and train as much as I needed to. And that's really just allowed me the flexibility to, I think, go up another level in performance-wise. And yeah, the Xterra somehow suits my strengths. With Xterra, there's so many things that can go wrong. Physically you can be in the best shape and the best athlete and the most talented on the line, but you could have two flats on the bike or you could crash, or you could break a chain, or kind of anything can happen out there that can just, turn your race from great to horrible. So, I was aware of that, and so that coming out of the season sort of like with incident free so far, touch wood, that was pretty cool and exciting, and that allowed me to execute races to my, best physically that I could. It's really built up my confidence to win a few races, and it's really made me realize that, okay, maybe I can do this full time, and it's just really reinforced that this is a career that I can make possible.
Early success in the off-road version of her sport not only inspired Duffy, it also instilled a belief that she had a genuine shot at the US Xterra Pro title.
I think that point came after my first race in the US Xterra Series. It was in Las Vegas in April. I'd already won an Xterra earlier in the year in South Africa, Xterra South Africa, in February. And then in LA, that was like, my first race up against most of the girls that race on the Xterra series. So it was like, my first test to see where I was at, and, I won, and, I got through it fairly well, and I felt great, and kind of then things clicked, like, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can win this US Xterra series. Oh, maybe I can improve upon my third place last year at Worlds. And so from there, it kind of just developed, and I focused more on it, and luckily it worked out. Xterra has definitely given me a new lease on triathlon. You know, training for the Olympics is very difficult and very demanding physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, you get a lot of, that's just everyone asks about it. And there's a lot of pressure and a lot of media coverage, and especially for me and coming from Bermuda, you know, in one side it's awesome and great that I'm in the newspapers a lot and covered very closely, but then at the same time that adds a lot of pressure and stress, and if things don't go right, you're just kind of like thrown into like this crazy like media circus, and people kind of just say whatever they want at you, which can be difficult. So this Xterra is kind of like a relaxed, kind of stress-free way of racing, but at the same time it's building my profile in the triathlon world, and you know, which is going to help my career, and it helps me earn money and good for my sponsors, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and offers me a really good platform to work off of and promote myself as an athlete. Really, I think Xterra has made me a stronger athlete in general, physically, and yeah, the mountain biking makes me so strong, and translating onto the road, I'm way better of a road rider, both, you know, strength-wise and the way I handle my road bike. So, you know, physically it's been great. It helps. It helps my Olympic distance sort of racing, and a lot is to do with my confidence. You know, it's really giving me that confidence boost that yeah, I am good enough to be competing at this level, which then, you know, will translate into the ITU racing, which, I mean, a lot of that racing is mental, and feeling like you should be there and knowing that you can race at that level and compete with the best girls and execute great races. So it's definitely helping all around. Xterra is obviously off-road triathlon, but it's a 1,500 meter swim, so similar. That's probably the only commonality between Xterra and ITU is the swim. And then you have a 30-kilometer bike, mountain bike, so off-road, you're either climbing a mountain or you're riding, you know, in a big national park on some technical mountain bike trails, you know, whatever. But it's obviously far more technical. There's way more spread out. You're not riding in packs. It's kind of like you versus the trail, which in a way I really like, because it's an accomplishment in itself just to get through the bike course without crashing or having a bobble here and there. And then the run is a trail run, so obviously that makes it a lot more technical of a run. There can be a lot more climbing. You're running through dirt, through mud, like massive rocks. I mean, you know, kind of whatever. It's off-road, so they can kind of chuck at anything they want at you. So that makes the pace a lot slower, and the event lasts a lot longer. So ITU generally takes about 2 hours, maybe less, whereas in Xterra, for me, it takes about 2.5 to maybe even 3 hours if it's a super hard course. And the distances in Xterra aren't kind of set. You know, the swim generally is 1,500 meters, but the bike could be 30K or it could be 40K. You know, it's just really kind of what trail they have available and how they can fit it as close as they can.
Xterra racing forms the base of Duffy's carefully mapped out strategy to qualify for the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And next year, she plans to compete in more ITU events where qualifying points for the next Olympics will be at a premium.
So next year I'll race a lot more ITU because Olympic qualification has started. It started, I think, this May or June 2014. So I did a few ITU races this year, which they all went well, and I scored good points. But next year I'll definitely be racing more on the circuit to get more points and just to get used to that style of racing. I mean, it's pretty radically different from Xterra. You know, in some ways they complement each other, but in others, you know, the level's so high at ITU, you really need to focus on it and remember those important details of, you know, going fast and being where you should be. So next year will be more ITU and a few Xterras in there just for fun, and it's a, you know, again, a good way of exposure for myself and to win some money and gotta have a nice balance.
Duffy has represented Bermuda at the previous 2 Olympic Games in Beijing, China, and England, where she did not exactly enjoy the best of times in terms of results.
The 2 Olympics that I've been to in 2008 and 2012, both pretty hard experiences for me for different reasons. In 2008, I was 20 years old, and I'd had this like kind of explosion onto the scene and racing super well, and then had some health issues and my form drastically disappeared, and I went into the 2008 Olympics just not in a good shape or good place, and had a horrible race. And that was very difficult for me at 20, again because I had a lot of exposure, and some of it positive but some of it a bit negative. And when you're 20, you're going through a lot anyway, regardless of you're competing on the world's largest stage for your sport. And so that was probably my biggest challenge I've faced, and actually stopped racing for 2 years after that. And then in 2010, after moving to Boulder, got back into things and started racing really well, and started building up my confidence and producing some really great results. Qualified for the 2012 Olympics, went to that games in very good shape and definitely capable of producing a top 15, top 10 result. And then of course I crashed on the first lap of the bike, and that dream kind of went out the window, and it was just kind of like, well, now I just have to finish and focus on the next one in 4 years' time.
Duffy intends to use those two bitter disappointments as motivation to set the record straight in Rio de Janeiro in 2 years' time.
I think it's every athlete's dream to do well at the Olympics, and certainly representing Bermuda there, we don't have many athletes, and I guess I'm one of the more well-known that's, been races full-time, like all the time, and don't just come about in Olympic years. So, yeah, for me, I would love to do great and represent Bermuda well, and just really put them in the spotlight. So yeah, my demons from 2008 and 2012 definitely inspire me, and hopefully third time lucky.
The goals she has set, and we know those, and she definitely has the ability and the potential to reach those goals.
Flora's edgy, and I think that's why we love her.
Representing Bermuda on the world stage is a privilege that not every local athlete gets the opportunity to experience. And it is for this very reason why Duffy takes great pride flying the island's banner.
And there's definitely a sense of pride when I represent Bermuda. I'm usually the only Bermudian in the race. Well, in fact, I always am. And so, that makes me feel really cool to put like little Bermuda on the map and be noticed and be just an ambassador for the island. And I think, most people know me within the triathlon circle, and it's like always Flora Duffy, Bermuda, or a two-time Olympian from Bermuda. And it's just really cool that I've been able to achieve such a high, level. Coming from Bermuda, I think people always find that a unique and special story, because, there aren't many of us out there that compete at this level. And so no, I love representing Bermuda and having BER on my suit when I race, and sometimes the flag's on the side. And yeah, it's really special if you happen to win a race and listen to the national anthem, and not many people get to do that, so it's very cool.
The University of Colorado graduate feels blessed to have been given the opportunity to travel around the world through her sport.
I feel very blessed. I get to do what I love every day, and allows me a lot of flexibility to, live where I want, travel where I want. It's lucky that the races are all around the world, so I have seen some pretty cool parts. This year I've been to South Africa, Australia, across the US. I've been in Europe. I'm going to be in Maui in 2 weeks. So it's definitely great. To do what you love, see the world, meet new people. experience new things. I mean, the world's a big place, so you may as well get up there and see it.
Duffy proved that she could hold her own at the professional level with a solid showing at the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Australia, where she managed a top 10 finish competing against a quality field. It is a feat that ranks high on the athlete's list of achievements.
It was the 2006 Commonwealth Games, and I was 18, and it was my first professional race of that sort of level, and I was racing the best in the world. At the time, it was like a ridiculously strong field. And nobody sort of really knew if I had the capability of racing at that level, and it was very uncertain. And you know, I knew and my coach knew, but everybody else around me was like, ooh, I don't know. And then I went there and had this great race, and I finished 8th, I think, and it was just like, I beat some of the legends in the sport, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe this girl has something. And for me, like, that meant the world. It was like, wow, like, I can do this, and it's been my childhood dream to race at that level, and to execute it so well the first time. It's just really resonated with me, and something that I'm really proud of.
To enhance her chances of fulfilling her athletic ambitions, Duffy has had to make sacrifices and commit herself fully into her sport, which takes a lot of discipline.
There's a lot of discipline and sacrifice. I mean, it's not, you're training at such a high level, and obviously you get tired, and it accumulates over time. So it takes a lot of discipline when you're really tired. You'd rather just stay in bed. To get out of bed and jump in a cold pool and swim 5 kilometers hard, and then get on your bike and then go running, and eating an extremely like healthy diet, and you really have to, you know, I really like sweet things, so that's really tough for me to just eat so clean, and remembering to eat at the right times to improve your recovery. And yeah, there's a lot of discipline involved. And sacrifice, sure, you know, right now I'm living a pretty, I mean, to most people, a boring lifestyle. I mean, I basically get up, eat, sleep, train, go to sleep, and then repeat. Not much socializing, and, you know, but that's for a short period of time during the year when you're preparing for a major event. Like, I have World Championships in 3 weeks, so obviously right now it's kind of crunch time, and I don't really care if I have to miss, you know, going to a concert or going out for drinks with friends. It's like, well, no, I want to be world champion in 3 weeks, so I'll see you guys then after that race.
Flora's constantly expects more out of herself, and as a coach, I think that's a great thing to be a part of. She's never satisfied with what she's done. She's always looking for the next level, or the next challenge, or the next opportunity to be great. And so she never really settles, and as a coach, that's a great thing.
Flora's edgy, and I think that's why we love her, because these athletes train so hard, and it's difficult for them to always have their super happy face on. So I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna tell you that Flora comes in every single day just happy as a clam, because she trains really hard, and there are periods when she's just quiet, and she wants to just train, and she needs to have the ability to just be focused and be herself. And there are times when they have to dig deep in some of their sets in the pool, or here in the gym, or even out on the bike. And endurance athletes in general, they get a lot of their strength from within, and people like me get the opportunity to work with them as coaches or as leaders. But when it really comes down to performance in that moment, she's alone, and she has to really pull that out of herself. And so we have to support all of the pieces of an athlete, and we're very lucky. We get to see her smile and laugh and be silly and goofy, and there are times when she's pretty intense and ready to train, and she's at work, and that's hard to remember sometimes.
Flora is probably one of the more positive, entertaining people we have in the group. We have a nice sized squad of 15 to 20 people that we coach that are interacting together, and Flora is always a positive influence on that group. And as an individual, she's extraordinarily driven, works incredibly hard, and that's really the secret to her success. But she's a lot of fun to coach.
I think every day being around these athletes is a privilege, and Flora makes a lot of people around her better, and that's why she trains with the group she trains with, and I think they're all pretty lucky and they have a pretty bright future. Flora's a crazy athlete. She is intense. She attacks when she sees the opportunity to attack, and the fact that she can just go day in and day out, and with the terrain that she has to overcome, and is just so impressive. My journey with Flora has been the last couple years, and it's been one to just see her really coming into world-class athlete. And she's been an Olympian, which is always so impressive, but the way that she's come into a mature athlete and mentally, physically being able to take on what the demands have come her way has been pretty impressive. And I think we're seeing that in her results.
I've known Flora for a while now, and especially over the last 2 years, the progress that she's made in her swimming and in her running has been really impressive. And she's always been strong on the bike. And now I think in some ways just how she uses that strength on her bike's really coming through. There's definitely more to come and better to come from Flora for sure. She's continuing to progress as an athlete and maturing as an athlete, and I think more than anything else, her confidence in herself and her own abilities is growing, and that's what's really going to drive her down the road. The goals she has set, and we know those, and she definitely has the ability and the potential to reach those goals. I think, you know, an Olympic medal, those things are within her reach. At certain times it'll take the certain race and the right dynamic going on there, but there's the possibility for anything she wants in the sport, for sure.
I know from how serious she takes the time we spend together that she is very, very focused, and I'm very clear on where she wants to go, and I'm going to do everything I can do to help her get there.
She swims from time to time with my club swim team that's mostly high school aged swimmers, and she's a great role model for those young ladies and those young men too, just in terms of she's gone out and she got her college education and she raced during that time, and she's had great success with racing, but at the same time has got herself set up very well for life after racing as well.
We're very blessed to have her here in Boulder. We have a lot of young up-and-coming athletes that train here at the club as well as in town, and she's got a big smile for them. I think for the level of athletic achievement she has, for her to just be Flora to those kids, and they see her dedication, they've seen her in the last couple years, has been a real gift. So yeah, she should be an inspiration.
I think it's just difficult when you get to 15 or 16 and you really need to make the commitment.
Coming out of Worlds last year where she was third, I think we really understood that we found a really special niche for her.
Duffy's ascent to the top of the US Xterra Pro Series has been nothing shy of meteoric, and has also been a stunning revelation to all of our coaches.
Coming out of Worlds last year where she was third, I think we really understood that we found a really special niche for her, a really special place for her in the sport of triathlon. But some of the things she's done this year, just her ability to ride so incredibly well, and she's running so well off the bike, I think that surprised all of us a little bit. Not in how fast she's gone, but how quickly she got that fast this year.
Much of Duffy's success this year can be attributed to her newfound passion for off-road triathlon.
One of the things about Xterra, and myself and Neil, her main coach, have both found this personally ourselves, is Xterra is a lot of fun. It's when you've been doing the same type of racing for a long time, like Flora has, ITU Olympic racing, it can be a bit stale, can get a little old, and I think Xterra brought a lot more fun back into the sport for her, reminded her of why she was doing it in the first place. And because of that big old smile on her face, and she really enjoys it, and I think we all race a little bit better and do a little better at our job when we're happy. And I feel like that happiness has come into not only her racing but her personal life too. And she's a happy young woman right now, and reflects because she's a great racer right now too.
Being based in Boulder, Colorado, provides Duffy with ideal conditions to train in, which has its advantages.
I couldn't imagine being based anywhere else. I mean, first of all, you're at altitude, which is great for training. And I'm sure, as you've seen, Boulder is beautiful, and you have the Flatirons just behind us. I'm based mainly out of Rally Sport Athletic Club, which has a pool, a gym. My coach works out of here. So I just have a great environment around me that can just inspire me to train harder and race well. There's also great roads for riding. There's a bunch of other triathletes here to train with. Yeah, it's just like this perfect little pocket in the US for athletes to train and to achieve their goals.
Duffy is one of 2 Bermudian triathletes based in Boulder, Colorado, the other being Tyler Butterfield, who has also enjoyed success on the world stage this year.
You know, it's funny, we don't actually see each other that much here. I think our lives are very different. We're in very different places in our lives. You know, Tyler is married with 2 kids. He also lives way up the canyon on top of this massive hill, which I actually practically rode to today. So, you know, his schedule is around, you know, revolves around training and kids and his wife Nikki, which keeps them pretty, you know, wrapped up and busy, whereas I'm obviously don't have kids and a husband to keep me busy or whatever. So, you know, we cross paths here and there, and it's always great to see him.
As one might expect, Duffy uses Butterfield's success at the ITU level as motivation to always put her best foot forward.
He's from Bermuda and he's out here, and I'm like, well, if Tyler can do that, then maybe I can too, you know? I mean, he's extremely talented, and I know we'll go on to do really great things at Kona, hopefully this year or maybe next year and the years to come. So yeah, definitely seeing him do well inspires me to train harder and race well too. And it's always nice because, you know, through Twitter or whatever, we can always follow each other's results and send a congratulatory message or a good luck message or whatever. So I think we're very well supportive of each other.
Duffy competed in her first triathlon at a young age and has never looked back.
I did my first triathlon, I believe at 8 years old, is the Iron Kids triathlon, which still goes on today in Bermuda. I did that, and then I won my age group, like on my little mountain bike, and joined the triathlon club and had a great group of friends, and kind of just went from there, did it for fun, and I think my parents liked it because it kept me busy and active. If I was to pick out a few from growing up in Bermuda that really, I'd say, laid the foundations to allow me to reach where I am now, would first of all be Troy Custodio. He was my first PE teacher at Port Royal, and he was a running fanatic and started a run club, and that you know, I took off in that and became the runner. And so Troy Custodio, Neil DeSinqua, he started Tri-Heads. That was a local triathlon club that I would go to. And then also Steve Burgess. Later on, I would run with Steve quite a lot. We trained for the Front Street Mile and run around the Botanical Gardens, probably from the ages of 10 to 15. He coached me and was really instrumental in my career, and he's just such a positive and great person that it just inspired me, and I just loved running, and I loved training with him. And so yeah, I'd say they would be the 3 most instrumental people.
Duffy is delighted to see the sport of triathlon thriving in Bermuda.
Given Bermuda is so small, I think we have a really great triathlon community. You know, there's loads of local triathlons going on. The Tri-Heads, the junior club still exists, and I know loads of kids go to that. And I think it's just difficult when you get to 15 or 16 and you really need to make the commitment to really want the dream of racing professionally. You know, you have to, I think, get out of Bermuda and gets you somewhere where you can compete against other kids your own age of the same level, which is only gonna help you move up that next level and, you know, just get better as an athlete. But in terms of just locally participation and everything, I mean, it's fantastic. There's loads of people that turn out for the local races, and there seems to be more and more each year, and very well supported in terms of sponsorship. And I get a lot of support from the local triathlon community, so I think it's great. I would love to see more young Bermudians who have this aspiration to race at this level to pursue it. I mean, you may as well. I can guarantee you that whatever you have to miss out on, you know, the little things to race at a certain level and achieve success will be outweighed as soon as you do a race and you achieve the result you wanted. It's just like there's no other feeling.
Asked whether she regards herself as a role model, Duffy replied,
you know, if I speak with my parents or friends that have followed my career closely, and, you know, they're like, you know, Flora, you are a great role model for any, you know, young girl in triathlon or young girl in Bermuda. So I guess, yeah, being, I think, a successful athlete, a component of that is being a role model to the younger generation. You know, I've worked hard and to achieve my dream, and there's been a lot of you know, dedication and missing out on other things, and just really working hard to achieve what I want to achieve. So I suppose in a roundabout way, I guess I am a role model, even though I don't like to label myself as that.
Duffy reckons she has at least another 5 years remaining in her career.
I think Rio would probably be my last Olympics. That would be my third one, and I mean, how many Olympics does one need to go to, really? And I'm hoping that one goes great, and I can be like, okay, well, good. Now I can move on with my life a little bit. So if I stopped racing at that sort of level, it depends how Xterra goes, and, you know, a lot of it depends on like what sponsorship I have, how well I'm doing, because obviously comes a point, it's like, well, yeah, this is great and I love this, but you obviously need to be earning a certain amount of money to maintain a lifestyle or to just kind of grow as a person, and you reach a certain age and like, well, I should probably take more responsibility here and get a proper job. But I'd say I have at least another 5 years left in. I'll get to at least 30 and then reassess things.
Flora Duffy is indeed an extremely talented athlete, and we wish her well in all of her future endeavors. Well, that's all the time we have. I trust you've enjoyed the show. See you next time.
Wildlife coming to the game, coming to the game. They hungry for the win, we leave them starving in.